Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the most must-see podcast here in the NJSSL. Welcome to the Cutting Redge. This episode of the Cutting Redge is brought to you by none other than Tribos Peri Peri Chicken, located on Route 9 in Manalapan, and is owned and led by the NJSSL's own Talib Mirza for the best chicken in the world, peri peri or otherwise, along with the best burgers, the chicken sizzler, and some other great options, like peri peri fries and yuca fries. Do stop by at Tribos Peri Peri Chicken, located again in Manalapan, New Jersey. With that, please welcome our guest for this week, Salik Ahmed. He is a classic guy in the NJSSL. He's a current, I guess, former, but also current NJSSL champion with the Raptors. He is a former playoff MVP, or the most current playoff MVP, if you will. And he is one of the guys who has the breakdown and analyses for Week 5 in the NJSSL. Salik, how are you doing, my man?
Redge, what up, man? Good to be back on the show. Doing pretty well as we discussed pregame, just staying busy with school, and I'm excited to return to this hoop scene right now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, the hoop scene's excited to have you back, and we can't wait until you get some time off from school, hopefully to visit us again at one of the NJSL games live.
Inshallah, December, yeah. I'll try to make it out to one of those games. Maybe I'll ask Shaw if I could play for one of the guys that's on vacation.
There you go. There you go.
They need
You
a
know,
fifth guy.
well, let me tell you, one of the guys that I feel like we haven't seen a lot of this year, and I'm sure he'll talk about it, Syed Ali. I mean, he showed up for maybe 2 games. Apparently, he was telling Professor he's gonna he's gonna ball out all over his team, and they played each other this past week, and then he didn't show up. So, very, very much a possible Goliath warrior in your future. You know.
That'd be pretty cool, yeah. I'll tell Syed Ali you might as well miss one more game.
Oh man, but we wish him all the best. Certainly hope all is going well for him. But definitely would be exciting to have you back whenever it's possible. Speaking of which, though so far it's been 5 solid weeks in the NJSSL. You know, it's been a lot of ups and downs for many of the teams. There's no more undefeated teams at this point, and I think we have a couple of teams that have still yet to find their first win. How do you feel like the season has been going from as you've been watching it from afar?
Yeah, so I think I missed like maybe 1 or 2 weeks in the middle of watching, but otherwise I've gotten to see most of the games. Um, it's weird because with the bridge weeks or the gap weeks that they have pretty frequently this season, it almost feels like a discontinued season.
Mm-hmm.
I remember telling some of the guys I wasn't a fan of so many bye weeks in such an extended season. I know it works out better for people's schedules, but I think it kind of chips away at some of the competitiveness of the season itself when you have so many gaps in between. But I think overall the season is going well. I think the teams, at least 1 to 8, probably are pretty evenly matched, and there's no clear-cut winner, which you like to see. So I think it's going to go down to the wire. I like it. Yeah.
That's definitely a fair assessment and evaluation. I think definitely when the games, like when we're there live, the games still do seem very exciting, very competitive in the moment. Despite the bye weeks. But yeah, I mean, certainly the bye weeks have been playing their role. How do you feel like the standings look the way that they are right now? And do you need me to bring them out for you?
I could pull them up, but I know I was looking at them earlier, and I think the one thing that surprised me the most was where AA's team ranked. I think they're 4-1, tied for first place.
They're in first place. Yep.
They're first place, right? Yeah. And that definitely surprised me. And then I was looking at, I watched actually, I think almost all of AA's team's games. What's the name of their team?
Shujat El-Yazgar.
Okay, Shujat El-Yazgar. They're an interesting team. But I think they surprised me the most just because I was not expecting them to be this good. Funny enough, I was texting with AA the other day, and he's like, I said, yo, your team looks good. And he's like, that's not what you said preseason. I was like, you're right. Like, I didn't say that because I didn't think they're going to look this good. But, here we are, week 5. They're 4-1, plus 23. And first place in the league right now. So props to them, honestly.
Yeah, and I think they've actually been working really well as a cohesive unit. Like I think Syed Daniel's really stepped up and into the role that he was supposed to play last year, and really into that center role, and is playing it well. And then Miz, I think, has been really stepping up too as like their shooting option after AA. So it's just,
Yeah,
and on top of that, Mustafa Al-Casey's really been playing great, like kind of as like a second playmaker on the team after AA. And AA, let me tell
yeah,
you, he's just stepped up. He's doing everything. Like he, is playing like I've never seen him before. Like he's finding open
yeah.
guys. He's barely taking shots. He only takes shots when he needs to. This past week, I think he had
Like,
to take a few more. But and wasn't draining them, but was finding guys to drain them. So it's he's been playing really well, and this team I think is just definitely a potential finals caliber team.
that's a great analysis. I'm actually going to say, and this is going to be somewhat of a hot take because they're first seed. I don't have them as a finals team. I don't. I don't think they're
Okay.
going to make the finals. But I will say that I think AA, and we'll get to this later, I think AA could possibly win MVP. And when we get to the predictions, I'll give mine.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're really good. They're really good. It's just I don't know. Is Miz going to keep dropping 20 points? Is Danielle going to keep having near 20 games?
Yeah.
We know what we expect from AA. He's going to keep doing his thing. But will the rest of the team keep playing this good?
That'll be the question,
So
and that's really
yeah,
what they need to continue to have the success.
yeah,
So there's three other 4-1 teams: Jazbai, Huck, Enlightened Elite, and Abbas Alamdars. I think we both kind of anticipated Enlightened Elite, having this sort of record. Certainly, one of their wins came without Sharuk, and one of their
yeah.
losses came without Sharuk. And when he has been there, he's been like lights out. The
Yeah.
other two teams, Jazbai, Huck, and Abbas Alamdars, how do you feel like those teams have been faring so far?
So Jazbe, Huck, and Abbas Almdar. Abbas Almdar, is that the team with Rack?
Hassan. No, no, no. That's
Okay.
Hassan Khan's team.
Oh,
Hassan
okay.
Khan and
HK, Mehdi,
yeah,
Farhan, and Kamran. So
yeah.
that's Jazbe, Huck, and then the other one was
That's Abbas Alamdars, and Judged by Huck is
okay.
ZJ, Hyder,
Ah, they're four and
Zulfi.
one.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So I'll speak first on the Abbas Almdars with Mehdi, Farhan, and them.
Hmm.
Yeah, that team's good. That team is
Yeah.
good. I
Yeah.
think there was one game where they had like four dudes that scored 20 plus, um, which is
Might have been.
it was maybe three or four. They were just balling out. They also played a terrible
Yeah.
team. It was Faisal's team. No offense, Faisal, but
Yeah.
no, that team's good, man. They're deep. They got. It looks like they just got three wings who all play kind of similarly, but are all just good at scoring. They're all good at playmaking, and they play good defense. The IQ's there, especially with Farhan. He's kind of their IQ guy. He holds them
Yeah.
together. Um, they just have a well-rounded team, and then on top of that, you got HK, who's a very good leader. But on top of that, he just kind of makes sure that everyone has that edge that they're playing with. And I know this because I played with Rack last season. He did the same thing.
Yeah.
So they're a very good team, in my opinion. Definitely a contender for sure.
I
Um,
I def.
yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
I was just gonna say I definitely agree. I think they also like not only their starting guys are strong, they're very reminiscent to me of the Blazers because even like their bench guys are also like playing well when they're needed to play well.
Yeah.
I'll say like Akbar Joffrey dropped like 9 points
Oh,
I think this past week, and
yeah.
like he was the only guy he was hitting all he was like 4 or 5 I think and hit his free throws. So like he was playing really well. I know that Muhammad Abbas like he wasn't there this past week, but he's been playing really well in like the backup point guard position. So I think that they have a definitely, like you said, a well-rounded team
Very well-rounded. Probably one of the deepest teams I've seen in the NJSSL, maybe ever.
for sure, for
Um,
sure, for sure.
So yeah,
What
they
about
got a good
Just
team.
by Huck?
Jusby, one of the things I wanted to note out is that I think they're really good with or without ZJ. Obviously, with ZJ, they're a whole nother level.
Yeah,
But that's a team that could make the playoffs even without their best player. That's how good they are.
100,
And I
100.
actually I said this on the first podcast that we did, but I really like that combo of Zulfi and Hayder. They are a good combo. It's like kind of like the Splash Bros if Hayder was making more shots, but they got a good team, man. Hayder's playing well. As I was watching that last game, I just kept thinking he could be playing a lot better, though. He is playing good, but
Yeah,
he could be playing better, in my opinion.
I
Um,
agree. I think he definitely overall is better than the way he's been playing this season,
yeah,
but still playing well enough.
he is still playing well, yeah. But he's getting, like, I think the other seasons that at least I was in the NJSSL, Hayder wasn't really getting the opportunity, especially last year with Hussein. He was dominating the ball quite a bit. And then the
Yeah,
first season, he was on that Michigan team. Um,
yeah. I think he
and,
got hurt too at one point.
Yeah, he got
that
hurt.
season.
He got hurt. That was just a discombobulated team. He never had the opportunity that he's had this season so far, especially when ZJ misses games. So I'd like to see more from him because I know that he's a very skilled player, and I think he can provide more. And I think if he can provide a little bit more than he's been giving, and again, he's playing well, but if he can provide a little bit more, that is another championship contending team, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's if ZJ is not even in the picture. And on top of that, you had ZJ, and
you guys,
that's
ZJ.
wild. I mean, ZJ is
Yeah,
like similar to him. Like he's playing all the different like he's playing the playmaker role and is doing
yeah,
well. And when he's not there, they still have excellent chemistry, the entire team,
yeah,
including again like they're guys that are on the bench, or just deeper in the roster that went later in rounds. Like
yeah.
Asa Joffrey is playing well as their center, and then
There's
Ayan
one
is
guy.
playing pretty well too.
There's that one guy that's always hitting layups off the cut. Who is that? Is that Ion?
It might be. I mean, honestly, I can't remember off the top of my head who was doing that. It's either him or Rehan would probably be one of those two guys.
It's Aon. It's Aon. I think. Yeah, yeah. It's
It might
him.
be, yeah,
Dude,
yeah,
he is like at least the last game that I watched from week 5. He's playing real
yeah.
nice.
He was playing
Yeah,
really well. He was playing really well this past week. Yeah, that's for sure.
yeah.
I mean, the whole team was. They've been just on fire, and that's why they have plus 79. Like what a point differential.
It's a great team.
Um,
Yeah,
Definitely, definitely, definitely. Let's talk about the other end of things. Some of the teams that probably have not looking so well. There's 5 teams that are under 500 right now. The
yeah,
Salik Scholars, the Methi Mercenaries, the Vilayat Warriors are the first, Scholars and Mercenaries are 2-3. The Warriors are 1-4, and then the Guardians of Fadak. I think to most people's surprise at 0-5, and then Akilat to no one's surprise is also at 0-5.
yeah.
So I think we've trashed a few of the Muslim enough on this podcast. So maybe let's talk about the other 4 teams.
uh, yeah.
So maybe we'll start with the Guardians. I mean, like, what is going on with them? Like, how are they not putting something together? I mean, all of their match, other than the one game they got blown out because they missed all their guys, basically. Like the rest of their games have been pretty close. So I'm not sure what they need to finally just get those few extra points to get a win.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I
And
know this team very well because my twin brother's on it. So, we talk about it pretty often. Honestly, like he needs help. Like Saad needs help on that team. The stat sheets are showing that he's dropping 24 a game, but last game he had around 34, 35 maybe.
yeah,
So he's probably averaging close to 30 on the season now. Again,
yeah,
it's probably the 4th season straight or whatever that he's a top 3, top 5 scorer.
yeah.
But normally he has help. Dude, I was watching that game. I think, and I don't mean to call his teammates out, but that's what this podcast is about. We call people out.
That's
Hopefully they get better from it.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
Sajad had 2 points.
Did he?
I
Yeah,
think
I
I
mean,
mean, I was watching the game. I was waiting for him to score. He had one layup towards the end of the game. That was his only 2 points. You know,
yeah. I mean, I think the problem between with Sajad and Saad is as the 1-2 punch is that I just don't think the two guys have a similar play style and their chemistry just does not match at all.
yeah, I
Um,
agree.
so I
I
think
agree
that's
with that.
basically been the big issue with them. And certainly like I don't know if we're getting the expectations that were there for guys like Adi, for Zanbai, for Atif to kind of be like the other help guys in the background. And Asad I think has only showed up like 1 or 2 times. So between all those things, like I think that this team is just too discombobulated.
Did you
Um,
get a chance to watch that last game?
not the one from this past
Okay.
week.
Well,
Yeah.
I can tell you what happened. So,
We'll get there. We'll get there.
okay, all right,
But
yeah,
let's just talk about the last couple teams, and then we'll go on to the recap.
cool. Sounds good. Yeah,
The Salik Scholars, they started off hot, 2-0, and
yeah.
then kind of been cooled down since. Your brother's also on this team, and certainly he's been playing really well. Irfan's been playing well. Overall, the team actually has been playing relatively like much better than what I expected. What are your thoughts, kind of them at 2-3 right now?
Yeah, I think 2 and 3 is pretty suitable for this team. I think their only offensive player is Razvai. Irfan's helped out certain games, but even last game he had like 9 points. As a second option, he needs to do better. I think their bench players, well, not bench, but I think their role players like Abu is playing very well actually.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have that big guy who's usually not there, so can't really
Yeah,
speak on him. And then they got another guy as well. Who am I missing right now?
Basil.
Bassel. Yeah, Bassel's
Yeah,
playing well. He's doing his thing. He is playing good defense. He's hitting shots. But I
yeah,
feel like this team is playing to its potential. In my honest opinion, they're playing to its potential, which is, in my opinion, just a sub 500 team. Because they, like I said, they only have one real offensive weapon.
that's
In
fair.
this league, you need a little bit more than that. And on top of that, they have a solid defensive team, but it's not good enough to make up for their offensive deficits, in my opinion.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's a pretty accurate way to put it. But we'll see. I mean, I think either Basil or like that Irfan. I think any game that those two guys like step up into a
Yeah.
much higher like offensive position and really get their shots in, they get their scoring in. That team is basically going to win it.
Irfan needs to shoot more.
Yeah, yeah. Irfan, you hear that, man? You gotta make those opportunities
He
and
was
just make.
4 for 7 last game. He's a good scorer. I played with him in pickup. He's a bucket. He needs to score more. And with a player like Reza, who's honestly pretty selfless, he doesn't like. It's not like Reza's dominating the ball like a guy like Hussein would, for example, or like other guys in the league, including myself, like pretty ball dominant, right?
Yeah,
Reza's not like that. Irfan can ball out while he also balls out. He just needs to be more aggressive.
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. All right. Well, we hope to see that in the coming weeks. What about the Mercenaries? Mercenaries started off 0-3, and now they've won two in a row. They're on a hot streak right now. They beat the Warriors, and then they also beat who else did they beat? I think maybe it was the Scholars. I can't remember actually. But they have been on fire. I mean, they've been playing really well the last couple of weeks. I think part of that offensive unit has been feeding Professor the ball, and now I feel like Thorab and Professor have kind of gotten on like a good like they've kind of gotten a little bit more chemistry together. They've are learning how to play each other's game, and I think it's showing. What are your thoughts on this team?
Yeah, I actually think they're a pretty good team. Contrary to what I thought in the beginning of the season, I still don't think they're great. They're probably still in the bottom half. Well, they are in the bottom half of my teams
Yeah,
probably, but they're better than I gave them credit for, and that's because Tarab's playing a lot better on both ends than I
for
thought he
sure.
was gonna. They need their role guys to step up a little bit, but I feel like they're playing decent, but not as good as they can. I think what you said about feeding Professor more is what's kind of changed the landscape of this team.
Hmm.
Um, they need to pretty much not turn over the ball when getting him the ball because once he gets it inside, nobody can do anything. And he's also a very good playmaker out of that. So I think when Professor gets the ball down low, you need people to be cutting off that because he has vision. So, but no, overall they've been doing a lot better. So they need to keep it up. Whatever they're doing is working right now. So they're doing
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
And actually, you know what? I think I misspoke. So their other win was against Midi Mercenaries, I believe. Maybe I made that up, but no, I think that's right. Yeah, I think their first win was against Midi Mercenaries, and that was without Sharuk being there.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, it was against Enlightened Elite, and that was without Sharuk being there. So I
Okay.
think that was a huge win for them. Um, and then now they've just beat the Black Warriors, so they definitely have the potential. Um, and then let's move on to the Goliath Warriors. This team is 1-4. They honestly, I feel like they should be a lot better than that. They have the personnel. Granted, like we talked about, Sayed Ali's not been there for half the season. Fiddy, I think, started off really struggling. Mazahir has kind of been average as the season started, and the one guy who did step up is Rayan. I feel Rayan Aladina. He,
Yeah.
I think, had 2 games in a row where he's got at least 20 points. I'm not sure how much he had this past game, but I know the game before he had 26, and I think
Yeah.
this one also had like 15 or 20. So he's really stepped up, but still it's not been enough. What are your thoughts on this team?
Yeah, well, shout out Rayan Aldina. I knew he had 26 the previous week. I didn't know he had another good game. That's great. I just think that this team is too ISO heavy. Every single player, well, all three of their stars, including when Saeed Ali's there, they're all just ISO heavy players. And it's like when Mazahir's going ISO, Fiddy's not moving. When Fiddy's going ISO, Mazahir's not moving. When Saeed Ali's there and he's going ISO, neither of them are moving.
Yeah,
And it's just like your turn, my turn type of basketball. And they're honestly not good. Like I don't think any team's really good enough to do that, but they're definitely not either. Um,
yeah,
so it's just too much ISO. At least if you're gonna go ISO, you need people cutting off the baseline, cutting down the middle, setting screens, and letting somebody go ISO off the screen. It's none of that. It's just straight up ISO basketball. That's all it is.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
And I think they've been a little bit tricky in that like their team has only showed up, like in like 4 or 5 guys per week every week, the last couple of weeks. And I think that with that too, they haven't really gotten the chemistry that they need to, figure out how to have other offensive strategies.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. They need the chemistry, and hopefully Said Ali can start showing up to games because they are better than the record shows with him there,
Oh,
especially.
100%, 100%. Well, we will see what happens as we move into week 6, which I think next week is going to be the week 6 games. But
Yeah.
until then, let's talk about this past week, and then we'll go into a little bit about who we think is going to be some early award winners this year. So I guess we can just talk about the week 5 games. The first one to talk about, I think, would be Shujat Al Yazgar versus the Guardians of Fadak. I'm sure you got a chance to catch this game. What were your thoughts on it?
I did, yeah. This is one of the four-ish games that I watched.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay, so they play against.
It was your brother's team versus A's team.
All right. Yep. 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 All right. So again, AA was. I looked at the stats. I kind of knew this too. He shot very poorly. He was 5 for 21, but it honestly didn't matter because he absolutely dominated that game with his playmaking as well. And then I thought Miz played a great game. He had 20. I saw that, and I thought Daniel played a phenomenal game once again. He has just been playing incredible basketball, outside of my expectations for sure. And I know he's good, but I didn't realize he was going to be dropping 18 and 23 games like that. That's crazy. That's some Mosid numbers right there. But he played a great game. I think the problem with the Guardians of Fadak is that their defense is what I expected of Professor Anthrop's team. Actually, it's worse than that.
So it's
They
not there.
it's not there. It's not there. It's I thought Saad and Adi did a really good job on the perimeter. Saad and Adi did a very good job. But once those guys get past the perimeter, it's like their interior defense doesn't exist. It's like Asad Bay and what's his name, Sajad. They're pretty much saying, "Here you go to the layup. Here's a wide open basket for you."
It
You
was
know,
also even there this past week. I don't
he
was it.
was.
I
He
don't.
actually played really well on the offensive end. He played
Oh
very
really?
well on the offensive end. Yeah,
Then I'm
he
not
played
sure
very
what.
well.
I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. But no,
So
man, they don't
and
have defense. You
so I
can't
said
win in
this
this
about
league
such a
without defenses.
no
Yeah,
100%. And I said this last year about Sajad. Like he definitely looks very good with the ball sometimes, but then sometimes he's just non-existent. I feel like he like I don't know he was like I don't know I think he's sometimes a little bit overrated. And like he goes in the second round, but like he's definitely not playing like a second round player. I feel at least not this season. But maybe it's we're only halfway through. Anything can change at any point, but hopefully they can start to figure out a way to get him more, or that he can figure out a way to get more included in the game.
yeah. No, I agree. I think he's not playing like a second round pick. I agree with that. But he is talented, though. I can recognize talent, and he's definitely talented. I don't know what it is. He's just missing wide open layups right now. Maybe he's in his
Yeah.
head. He just needs to get that together, and they'll be fine.
It's possible. It's possible. Well, hopefully, some of the leadership then can kind of help iron out some of these these crinkles in the team's game plan.
Yeah,
But we'll see. But meanwhile, like you said, AA's team we've got between AA, the Miz, Daniel, and like I said, even like Mustafa Al-Casey, and Irfan
yeah,
Ali, all those guys are basically playing the role that they should be playing, and they're all working together as a well cohesive unit. I think that if they continue playing like this, then they definitely could be a final, potential finalist. I had them in the beginning of the season. I think I had them third. Yeah, I think I had them third in my predictions. So I'm happy with the way they're playing. I think they're just going to keep rolling.
yeah. No, I
Um,
agree. AA is playing like Steve Nash, and Daniel's playing like Amari Stoudemire right now.
there you go. That's
Oh,
that's
Ms.
that's
Sean
that's what you need.
Marion. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
All right. Moving on to the next game. Let's talk about the enlightened elite and Aqidah the Muslim. So this one you might have seen. Aqidah the Muslim stats. Faisal was not there this game. So I guess
yeah,
that's one thing to note. And Sharuk was there this game, so naturally it was very one sided. The final score in this game was was 90-67. Um, I will tell you, I watched part of this game live. It was just like an onslaught right from the beginning. At one point, it was like 22-7 or 26-7 or something like that, and it was just like from the
Yeah.
beginning, it was one sided, and it basically just continued like that the whole game. I'm sure of those 67 points, much of it came from when some of the lower tier guys on Enlightened Elite were in. And I the biggest thing that stood out to me watching this was the frustration on Merchant's face, like just throughout the game. I mean, he played relatively well. So did Mustafa. I mean, they did what they could. Obviously, it wasn't enough. Also, the Merchant really stepped up. He was 5 of 12 from three, which is pretty
Oof.
impressive for him. But it's not going to cut it. I mean, like they have no defense. Clearly, 90 points. I like that's probably the most that's ever been scored in an NJSSL game. So yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know if did you get a chance to watch this one or no?
No, I think I started watching it, noticed that Faisal's not there, and turned it off.
I mean, it's a reasonable thing to
Yeah.
do. Even if he was there, like I don't know if it would have made much of a difference.
Yeah.
Um,
What was going well for Shark's team? I mean, was it Shark? Was it
It was. I
Sean?
think it was the. I honestly, I didn't catch the entire game, but I think from what I did catch, like the whole team was just like exploiting the defense of Akida the Muslim. Like they were finding open guys. Shark was being Shark, right? He was hitting every shot that he took. And then Sean was also playing really well. I don't have his numbers up unfortunately, but both of those guys and even like the rest of the team, like they were outboxing out all the defenders on the Muslim. Like they were boxing them out, they're getting their own rebounds, they're getting defensive rebounds very easily. Like it was just a very one sided game from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
mean,
I'm
I don't
surprised
know if
that
there's much more
Akida
to
the
say about
Muslim
this
even
game.
put up. Huh?
I don't know if there's much more to say about this game other than it was basically one sided. But go ahead with what you're gonna say.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm surprised Akida the Muslim even put up 60 something points.
67. Yeah.
67, yeah, that's surprising to me. On Merchant
Yeah.
had a crazy stat line, so shout out him, even though they got blown out. He had like what 21, 8, 7, 6, something like that, seven
Yeah.
steals.
21 points, 7 steals, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. Good job on
Yeah,
Merchant.
there it is.
I
Yeah,
mean, definitely, he played well. Uh, Probably this has been his best game so far, and I right
yeah,
up there. I mean, I'll put most Faros had 9 rebounds.
yes. Shout out
Asad
Fa.
had 3 assists and only 3 rebounds, and then 3 blocks by Ali Hussein. So good job, Ali Hussein. Ali Hussein did not do much scoring, but he did have 3 blocks. So I think like there's some other these other guys on their team. They did step up a little bit, but certainly not enough, especially not against a team like Enlightened Elite.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I didn't get to talk about Enlightened Elite yet. I know on you guys' last podcast, you guys kind of ripped them apart, but I kind of wanted to say that they should be playing better. If On Merchant is playing the way he has all season, he's playing very well. If he's playing that way, and you got Asad Bai, who's a great shooter, you got Fa, who just does all the little things pretty well, and then you got Faisal, they should be playing better. If Faisal wasn't averaging 14 a game, which is what I just saw on the stat sheet for the first time, this team should at least have one win. He needs to step it up. They need to help him out more by setting screens and moving off ball better and hitting
Yeah.
their layups when he makes a nice pass to them. But I'm just rooting for them to get at least their first win and hopefully get the ball rolling from there.
Hopefully, it's just a matter of time. Hopefully, it's just a matter of
Yeah,
time.
hopefully.
Um,
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll move on. We'll move on to the next game, which was the Midi Mercenaries and the Goliath Warriors. We talked about this a little bit before. This was a close game. 64-60 was the final. The Mercenaries pulled it out. Great game played by both teams. From what I remember seeing in this game, Fiddy was playing really well pretty much throughout the game. Rayan, I think, was his second scorer on that team, and then Mazahir was again doing his thing, kind of playing the role of playmaker. And got these guys open shots. But the Robin Professor just went off. I think Mudassir was okay with some of his threes. Like, he wasn't playing as great as he normally does. He's been kind of inconsistent all season. Did you get a chance to watch this game at all or no?
I watched the first half of this game. Yeah. Yeah, Throb and Professor killing it as usual.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
No, go ahead. What were you gonna say? What else? Or
I
if
was
you had
gonna say
anything else.
on the other end for the Williat Warriors, and I mentioned this earlier. It's just like I'm watching one guy go ISO and then saying, "Hey, you go ISO next play." Just
Yeah.
not good
There's
team
there's a lot of
basketball.
that. There's a lot of that.
There's no
There's a lot of
screens either. I don't think I've seen them set a screen really. To be honest.
that. I don't know. I mean, I felt like this game that the first half they were playing relatively well and being a little bit more like their spreading of the ball was like much more noticeable. But into
Yeah,
the second half, I feel like that completely stopped. And then the like Professor's team basically just capitalized on that. And Professor and Throb, I felt like they stepped up big time in the second half to bring their team back and to win the game because I think they were down
yeah,
initially, but then
yeah,
I don't know, it's like a switch flipped and they came back and won it.
yeah.
Um,
I wanted to
and then,
shout out Professor for his offense, man. He's just like he's always been really good, but he might be playing at a different level offensively right now. And honestly, Throb and Professor really complement each other's games. So that's a good team. They're a pretty good team, I'd say,
it's definitely
offensively.
working out. It's definitely working
Yeah,
out. And like we alluded to earlier, Goliath Warriors, I think their first pick overall was Sayed Ali, or maybe that was their
yeah,
second pick. They had back to back. So you got to kind of question the value of that pick so high when he's not showed up half the season, and like he's talking a big game to guys like Professor and then not showing up. It's tough. I mean, hopefully it's nothing too serious for him, but certainly I think his draft stock is going to go down in subsequent seasons.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, he needs to get to those games. They're relying on their first pick right now. So
100%,
yeah, he needs to
100%.
get there.
100. Next game to talk about would be Commanders of Mujtaba versus the Salik Scholars. This was another close one. The final score is 53 to
Yeah.
49 in favor of the Commanders of Mujtaba. So it's Rack's team versus Raza's team. Um,
Yes,
did you get a chance to watch this one?
I did. This was a good game. Yeah,
What was your
I
thoughts?
gotta watch it. I thought. Okay, so I'll talk about Rack's team first. Boss out there did not have his best game. I want to say he had maybe like 12, 14 points maybe. But just the attention that he was drawing was able to get Yafa easy looks, was able to get Asad easy looks. It didn't count, but I think Asad probably hit 5 threes, maybe more. But it's probably one of my favorite teams in the league to watch, just because one, I love watching the boss out there play.
Mm-hmm.
Even when he struggles, I still love watching him play. And two of him, between Yafa and Rack, that team brings a lot of energy. Rack's always yelling, and Yafa has a habit of making his opponents get angry for one reason or another.
Yeah,
So their energy is unmatched, and I think that's a really good team. Especially if I think a Boston Yafa need to be running more pick and rolls. So there's no
yeah.
reason not to.
I was gonna say
Yeah,
with that exact thing, that point that you mentioned, that like Yafa and Rack, because just of who they are and the way they play, like they're very good at getting in their opponent's head. And I feel like a boss
yeah,
out there is the opposite, right? Like he just lets his game
yeah,
do the talking, and he's
yeah,
otherwise a pretty quiet guy. So I feel like that
yeah,
complements each other really well, and that's what makes this team work
for
so well.
sure. I think
And
there
they're
was
they're at
one
three and
play.
two right now.
They're 3-2. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
What were you gonna say?
There was one play in that game where Yafa gets a block on Reza. It was a really nice block, and he's just going crazy, and he's talking to the camera like that's what I do, something like that. They call a timeout after that, and the boss out there is just dead quiet, silent, while everyone else is cheering.
That sounds about right. That sounds about right. But
Yeah,
it's good. It's good on the on the court behavior.
yeah,
And I will say, like, even the last game, Yafa's talking got Mustafa Casey
Casey.
basically thrown out of the
Yeah,
game. So
right.
like, I mean, it's like he's basically pushes the limit of what you're allowed to do in the NJSSL, and it so far has been working for them. But we'll see if
I
it
like it. Yeah,
continues.
I know.
Yeah,
Me and
yeah,
Yafa had gotten into an altercation last season. I don't know what he did. I think he was just talking, and we started chirping at each other. But honestly, I told him after that game too. I think that edge is what makes him who he is as a player, and so he
yeah.
needs to keep on doing whatever he's doing. It's working. So
For sure. And then, I will say the big
yeah,
talking point is not just that, but Abbas Athar could have gone a lot earlier in the draft. And we talk about like
easily.
all these guys that have been playing like a number one, like a number two, And I feel like without a doubt, like he draws the same attention and plays the same playmaker role that Shara, ZJ, Ahmed Ali, like Saad, like all these guys play for their teams. And so it's just interesting and impressive that Rack was able to steal him at like the number 12 spot. He could have gone basically at least 3 or 4 different teams as their first round pick and been in a better position. Um,
100%.
but but yeah, tis what it is. Apparently. All right. So then moving on to the next game, we've got the Jazz by Huck who beat the Nojoans 55-53. So this is Adil's team against ZJ's team. I think ZJ was not there this past week, and so even with that, this team won by 2.
He
The
wasn't.
Nojoans, on the
Yeah,
other hand, did not have Ali Mirza. So both teams missing pretty key guys. Did you get a chance to watch this one?
I
Solid.
did.
Can you hear
Yeah, I watched this one as well.
me?
You want to go first, or should I go ahead?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. Let me know your thoughts.
Can you hear me? Oh, okay. All right, cool. Yeah. So I don't know if you watched this or not, but Mostead was playing this game. So, it's good to see my boy back on the court. I think he probably played, maybe like 30, 35 minutes or so. Um,
Yeah, dang. I
the
didn't. I
Adil's
didn't
team,
get
they
a chance
look.
to watch this game, and I did not notice that he was playing. So that's really good for him. We're glad to have you back, Mo Sid.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. So Adil was super aggressive from the get go. I think it's because Ali Mirza was missing.
Hmm.
But Adil was super, super aggressive from the beginning. There was a point in the second half where he just caught fire. I think he hit maybe 14 points within 5 minutes. So he was
Dang.
balling out. Shout out to Adil. Um, I think one problem I noticed, and this honestly might have lost him the game, is that they were playing Mosid like a spot up jump shooter. And I don't know if it's because he's come back from injury. I'm assuming that's why they played him like a spot up jump shooter. But if they had played him inside a little bit more, if he feels healthy enough, they could win a lot of games just by getting him easy looks inside.
And I'm sure that once Ali Mirza is back, like he's gonna be the inside guy every time. I think that should work
Yeah.
really well.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. Ali Mirza himself's more of a scorer than a playmaker. I think they need to run most of it in more pick and roll actions, kind of like we did last year. But yeah, with Ali Mirza back, this team, and with Mostad there, this team's going to be really good. And then on the other end, they were playing against. Remind me who they were playing against.
They're playing against Judged by Huck, so like Hyder and Zulfi and them.
Yes, yeah. On the other end, honestly, Zofi and Hayder and their team, I don't even know if they won the game as much as Adil's team had lost the
Lost
game.
it.
you know, Yeah, it was
That's
just like a lot of silly fouls. They got 3 free throws here, 3 free throws there for
mhm.
ZJ's team, and it was just not like it wasn't like Zofi had went on like a crazy hot streak and won the game for them. He played well, but it was really Adil's team had stopped scoring the ball the last like 5 6 minutes of that game. I don't know if they
Yeah.
did score really much in the last 5 6 minutes of that game.
Yeah,
So yeah,
it's certainly certainly was probably not the ideal game for either team, especially with some guys missing. But I
yeah,
got to give it to the Jazz by Huck. They either way they kept up right with them. They didn't let them kind of get overtaken. They didn't let themselves get overtaken. And even without ZJ, they pretty much the rest of the team, you know, kept them in this. So I think it's an impressive feat, even to beat this team that with a returning Mosid without Ali Mirza. It's definitely an impressive feat. But we'll see if they're going to be able to maintain that. So far, it seems like they can really hang with any team here. So in this season.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And honestly, shout out Hayder because he went super clutch in that game.
There you go, Heather Boss. Yeah, I think neither of these teams. I don't think the stats are up yet for this game. But that's okay. We'll have to see when it does come out. Who was the ultimate guy on this team that was making everything happen. Um, I actually don't even see. Oh, here it is. Yeah, neither of these team stats are there. So unfortunately, that is what it is. But we'll. I'm sure it'll come out soon, and it will probably play a big role into who we kind of predict. Will get what awards this season. I guess we'll do the last game, and then we'll go into the awards real quick. The last game
Yeah.
should be uh, Abbas Alamdar's and Sabra Zainab. So this was our team against Abbas Alamdar's, which is HK and Mehdi Jaffrey's team. We didn't have Abbas Haider this game. They didn't have Farhan. This was a very tight game, I think, in the end. Yeah, the final score was what was the final score? It was, I don't even remember, 49-44. So it was a pretty close game. Very strong defensive game on both ends. For the Abbas Alamdars, the biggest I guess talking points was Kamran was basically shut down this game. And it was mostly Mehdi Joffrey that was kind of stepping up as the main scorer with again big help from Akbar Joffrey off the bench. I think he had like 9 or 11 points, something like that. And then HK, hit his few shots. And the rest of the team everybody else hit like a few points here and there. So they played as usual like a very cohesive team. We played okay considering the fact we didn't have a boss or Bobby. Morez, he tried, he was tried to be the main guy on the team. And it worked out. Like we hung with them very much so. But I don't know. We just kind of started making
Yeah.
some silly fouls and kind of relying too much on the same play over and over, and it just didn't work out in the end. I don't know if you got a chance to watch this game.
No, this game I did not get to watch.
That's okay. That's okay. I mean, I think that's basically the biggest talking point. Had we had our starters there, it might have been a different outcome. Certainly it would be a very tight game still either way, I think. I'll give it to us. I'll give it to them. Both teams played their heart out, and it just the outcome was what it was. But we look forward to playing them again, perhaps in the playoffs. And we'll just kind of take it one step at a time and see where things go. With all of this being said, I
Yeah.
guess let's move on to our potential award winners for the season. You kind of alluded to it earlier, but if we were to take predictions right now for MVP for this season, who would be your top three options?
Top three.
Hmm.
All right. So number one, as of right now, I'm gonna go with Ahmed Ali.
Okay.
Um, just because he's doing everything right now. He doesn't even need to score the ball. He's had 2 games, at least that I know of, where he's had 13 plus assists, which is insane.
Yeah.
'Cause I think coming into the season, the only one that ever had double-digit assists was me with 10, and he's broken that twice by a lot. So he's just playing incredible, and he's my MVP right now. The second guy I would give it to would be Abbas Arthur. Just because from a value standpoint, I think if you take him off that team, they're 0-5 right now, and I
Hmm.
think they're 3-2 with him.
Yep.
So he's second. I don't think it's too far off between him and AA for MVP, but I would probably still put them number 1 and 2 respectively. And then number three, I'm trying to look at the standings right here. Um, I don't know who I'd have as number three right now for my MVP, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I'd have a number three right now.
That's fair. That's fair. So
Yeah.
I have those same two guys in that same order. Actually, number three, and this might be a stretch, but I think he's going to show that he is going to be potentially deserving of it. Um, and maybe I'm way off, but I actually gonna put Professor at number three. I think that he is playing very differently than I feel like I've ever seen him, and he's definitely allowing the rest of his team to shine more and kind of is able to make plays so that the rest of his team shines more. I think he's still struggling on the defensive end of things. Like he definitely still falls asleep on defense a lot in terms
Yeah.
of getting back. But I think that we're seeing just like a very different Professor in the way that he's playing, and I think especially in the last couple of games, he's been playing really well. So I think that's explains the successes that they're starting to have with him. So I'm going to put him at number three, and I think if he continues to play the way he's playing, the Mercenaries are definitely going to be a potential top five team.
Are they 3-2 right now or 2-3?
No, they're 2-3.
They're
They
two
lost
and
their
three,
first
right?
three games, and then they won their
Yeah.
last two.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would say so. I tried not to pick anyone that was under 500, but that's why if I think if I was to talk about teams under 500, then I would have to include Raza and Professor, and they're both Um, because if you take both them off their respective teams, and they
Yeah,
don't even have 2 wins, they have zero.
that's
So
fair.
no, Professor's a good pick though right now for three.
Yeah,
Definitely a
yeah.
good pick for three right now.
And the close guy, it would be a boss Heather. I would say is definitely a possible guy to be in there too, just because our team without
Yeah.
him so far has been definitely been struggling. But
Okay, yeah.
we'll see what happens. A lot of season left. What about for offensive player of the year?
Yeah, so I didn't include this guy in MVP because one, he's only been to 3 games, and two, because he has to win Offensive Player of the Year, averaging 60 points per game.
Yep,
Shark.
yep,
So
yeah.
he's averaging 56 as we talked about before the show really started. 56 points per game in the 2 games that we had stats for. I'm assuming he'd drop anywhere from 40 to 60 in the third game. So he's a clear cut Offensive Player of the Year. I mean,
I
but
think
if
that's definitely fair.
yeah, if we're talking
And I
about
think
second and third right now, I think if Saad's team could win some more games, because he's probably averaging close to 30 on really high efficiency after the stats are updated. He's up there. Ali Mirza's definitely up there. Ali Mirza's definitely up there. So those are three guys that I would throw their names out there for offensive player.
yeah, I mean that definitely sounds about right.
Yeah,
I'd probably put again Shark number one. I think you can argue Professor's right up there too in this department.
yeah,
That if he's not
that's true.
uh, MVP, he's definitely potential offensive player of the year. And then I'd probably have Ali Mirza at number three because he
Yeah,
definitely leads the offensive attack for the Najwans, and they've had a lot of successes with him there. What about for
yeah,
defensive player of the year?
that's a tough one with Hussein out of the league. It opens the window up for everyone else. But defensive player of the year. I thought Adil's been doing a really good job defensively. I don't know if I would put him in the defensive player of the year category, but he's been playing good defense. Yafa's been doing a tremendous job defensively, in my opinion. So those are two guys right there. I can't think of anyone else because I've kind of been in and out of watching games right now, so I don't want to speak
No,
unfairly.
that's okay.
And I also don't believe in using steals and blocks as a metric for DPOY personally. I've always disagreed with that. I think it plays
That's
a
fair.
part into it, but I think the biggest thing is seeing, how opposing stars struggle against this person or their
Yeah.
team, So those are two guys that I think have been doing a pretty good job. Again, I don't know enough to say if they'd be DPOYs, but they've been playing good defense, those two. Really good defense. Yeah.
That's fair. I agree with Yafa. I think he's definitely got to be up there. And then the other person I was going to say is Daniel. I mean, I think like he is definitely
Yeah.
playing really well underneath. He's grabbing those defensive boards. He I think is also leading the league in blocks. So
Wow.
I think that's definitely somebody who you got to think about. And then I don't know. I mean, maybe as we continue to watch games, we'll see how it plays. But I think ZJ has been like in the games that he has been playing, like he's definitely been like a much bigger role defensively this year than I feel like he's been previously. And so I think that he's definitely up there in that conversation too. Similar to
For
kind of how you
sure.
put it, he's not necessarily up there in steals and blocks and defensive rebounds, but which I think he is up there in those things anyways. But certainly I think like he's been holding guys that he's been guarding to like a very low efficiency.
Yeah, yeah. I actually missed Sayed Daniel. I think he was on the back of my mind, but I'd definitely put him up there. He's playing. He's also one of those guys. He's playing just like Yaff on the defensive end. Honestly, they're
Yeah,
pretty much identical in their impact right now on both ends. I think, in fact, Sayed Daniel is probably playing better offensively and the same defensively. So I'd probably put him right there in the deep boy conversations too. And
one hundred
then
percent.
ZJ is just. I've always said this to people that I've talked to. He doesn't know this because I don't want to give ZJ credit to his face, but I think he's probably the best defender in the NJSSL. Him or Shark, in terms of just overall defense, like he's just an unreal defender.
Yeah, yeah,
So he's always up there. Yeah,
100%, 100%. Well said. Now let's go talk about a couple of categories that we don't really think about as much. Who do you
yeah.
think that the rookie of the year is going to go to this year?
The only rookie I've heard any noise from is Kamran. Uh,
That's
I
fair.
could be missing someone, but I think Kamran on that team with Mehdi and Farhan and HK.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's definitely a reasonable place to start. Um, he definitely has been playing really well, right? Like he's been definitely been very solid. I think he's shooting a little bit,
yeah,
or at least up until his last game was shooting above 50%, maybe a little bit less now. And yeah, like you said, I guess he is one of the few rookies that have really stepped up. I'm just trying to think like who else might even be in that
they
conversation.
have another rookie on
Now
that
you said
team
it out
too.
loud. I guess like a deep number two, though certainly not playing nearly as well, would be Ali Javad Versi. He's on the Enlightened Elite. I think like he's definitely playing at a much higher position than like people anticipated him. Like he's probably been he's like stepped up as like the second or scorer for a lot of these games that Kumail or Sean have been missing. So I
Oh
think
right, yeah,
he's been a guy that has to be in that conversation. And then I guess maybe Ehsan Faraji would be the third guy. He's on the Slavic Scholars. He's like their big guy
yeah,
underneath. He hasn't done anything too impressive, but certainly he's playing relatively well as their underneath guy. As a big body underneath and getting those rebounds and everything. So he could
yeah,
be in that conversation too. But I think Kamran really blows out the the competition for this award right now.
yeah. The rookie class in general, it's not like as deep as previous
That's fair.
years.
Yeah,
I
and I'll
remember
say
the rookie class, huh?
sorry, I was just gonna I'll throw in one more name. Is Ayan
Yeah,
Hussein. I think he's also been playing really well too. Certainly he's got so many other guys on his team that like he doesn't really get the same opportunity to shine as some guys. But I think that he is playing at least the role that he's been playing. But go on with what we were saying about the rookie class for this year.
yeah. I know you mentioned some good names actually. Some I didn't recognize. There's one more I'll throw out there. I haven't seen too much from him, but the one he's on the same team as Kamran, the point guard. Can't remember his
Oh,
name right now.
Muhammad Abbas.
Muhammad Abbas. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, he's actually
He's got to
definitely
be.
also been pretty impressive.
Yeah, yeah. He's got to be.
Um, yeah, definitely.
The rookie class that it's interesting to see the trajectory because the season I was coming in, it was Sharak, Abbas there, Raza, myself, Saad. And the next season, even we still had Mosid, Ali Mirza, a couple other guys, right? So those
Yeah,
those years, the rookie of the year race was pretty tight. Both well, last season was clearly Mosid at that time for sure, but this season it's I think clearly Kamran, but it's a little bit of a different race this season than previous seasons.
yeah, I think the last in the previous seasons, what you're trying to get at is that like there was some definitely potential like, but basically top caliber guys that were fighting for
They're
that
just
rookie of the
coming
year,
in. Yeah,
and now it's definitely the caliber. Like Kamran was drafted in the third round versus like like this like the second. So I mean like it's definitely guys that are lower ranked compared to previous seasons.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
but it's an interesting race nonetheless. I'm excited to see how that plays out. Honestly.
For sure, and we'll see if some of these guys that are in that race are able to step up and kind of get their names up there in a higher stock. And then the
Yeah.
last award that we should definitely talk about would be the Sleeper of the Year award, and I think there's a few names that come to mind for me for this. Amongst them, I would say Arham Shah has got to be a potential Sleeper of the Year because he's basically the third. I guess prior to Mosid being in on that team, he's basically always has been the third option and has been capitalizing as that third option. Both underneath and hitting his free throws, and he's actually playing really well defensively as well. Some other sleepers of the year, I think Rayan Alidina really stepped up. He was on the Clippers last season and pretty much was non-existent on that team, and all of a sudden now he's hitting. He's like their second, third option from like a scoring standpoint. So he's definitely somebody of note too. And then I mean, Thorab was drafted second, so I wouldn't put him on that list per se, but he's definitely playing better than I feel like he has in any previous season. So he's definitely I almost say like he's no, he really I guess hasn't been playing as like a first round option yet. So I don't know if I would put him in the conversation, but he I don't know, he somehow makes this conversation for me too. But what were you gonna say?
Yeah. Well, no, that's some good analysis right there, Reg. I think I wouldn't put Throb there or Abbas Utter there because as good as they've been playing like first rounds. They're still drafted in the second round each. Um, but I like what you said about
Yeah.
Rayan and Arham because I don't know. They got drafted so late. I have no idea when they got drafted, but it was probably below the 50th pick mark for both of them.
Yeah.
Um, and they're both playing really, really well for their teams. Arham had, I think, 2 games with double doubles, at least one. And Rayan Aladina, as we talked about earlier, 26-point game followed by another 15 to 20-point game. That's crazy. So I would say if I had to pick one option, it'd be Rayan Aladina right now as sleeper
Yeah,
of the year
yeah.
or most
Especially if he
improved player.
continues to
Go
play
that
like
way.
this.
Yeah, yeah. That award
So
could also be the same for most improved, like those options.
yeah. I feel like that those awards kind of go hand in hand,
Yeah,
for sleeper of the year and most improved.
I
But
agree.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
hey, we're only halfway through the season. We've got plenty of season left. Anything can happen in the NJSSL, as you know. So any final thoughts before we round it out?
Yeah, just one final thought. From some teams that are not playing well, and I want to see them do well. Faisal's team, like I said, I think they need to move the ball a little bit more through Faisal and set him screens and help him out a little bit more. And then I think with Saad's team, I think they need to play some defense. Um, these are two teams that are 0-5 that I think are both better than 0-5. So I want to see both those teams playing better because I think that they're both could be middle of the pack for sure. So those are my final thoughts. It'd be nice to see every team kind of in competition right now.
Yeah, definitely. It will definitely be interesting to see kind of what happens next. I was hoping to see that those teams would be playing each other soon, the Guardians and Aqidat, but it looks like that neither of those teams play each other, or those two teams don't play each other until like the following couple weeks. Like there are a few games from now. So we'll see. Hopefully one of them will have a win because there's 2 games in between now and then. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
hopefully. Yeah,
definitely some good analysis there, Salik. Thank you again for
yeah,
making time to come on the show.
of course.
Shout
Yeah,
out again to one of our sponsors, Tribos Peri Peri, who sponsored this
yeah.
episode. And inshallah, we'll continue to have some more excellent hot takes for you in the subsequent episodes of Cutting Redge and as the season progresses.
I'm
Inshallah, until
excited.
then,
Yeah.
everybody enjoy the rest of your day. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see you all again real soon.
Thank you for watching, Reg. Thank you for having me on, and everyone have a good one.
Of course. Take care, guys.
Bye.